We all know Vecna as the crispy, vine-covered bad guy who hates catchy 80s pop music. But before he was the king of the Upside Down, he was just a kid named Henry who really hated ticking clocks. But the story the show told you? That's only half the truth. We're digging into the deep lore, including the massive revelations from the first Shadow stage play, to explain how a sensitive boy became a multiverse-hopping nightmare. If you think you know the whole story, here's why you are wrong. The Nevada incident. The show tells us the Creels moved to Hawkins for a fresh start, but it leaves out why they needed one. According to the deep lore revealed in the stage play, The First Shadow, Henry didn't just wake up one day hating humanity. His corruption didn't begin in the Creel house attic. It began in the deserts of Nevada in 1952. The play reveals that Dr. Martin Brenner wasn't the first person in his family to mess with other dimensions. His father was the captain of the USS Eldridge, yes, the ship from the famous Philadelphia experiment conspiracy. In the Stranger Things universe, that experiment didn't just make the ship invisible. It accidentally transported the entire crew to a hostile alien realm. Captain Brenner was the only survivor, returning with mutated blood and a mind shattered by what he saw. Years later, a young Henry Creel was exploring a cave in Nevada when he stumbled upon stolen technology from that very experiment. He fiddled with a device he didn't understand and was transported to Dimension X for 12 hours. This is the crucial missing piece of the puzzle. When Henry came back, he wasn't just a moody kid anymore. His blood had been altered, and his mind had been touched by a dark, formless entity. He brought a piece of that dimension back with him. This changes everything. Henry wasn't born a psychopath. He was the first victim of the Mind Flayer's realm. His sensitivity was actually the trauma of being touched by an eldritch horror. So when his parents dragged him to Hawkins, he wasn't just an outcast. He was a biological ticking time bomb. The philosophy of the Predator. Before we get to the murders, we have to understand Henry's brain. Why spiders? Why the clock? After his trip to Dimension X, Henry became obsessed with the concept of order versus chaos. He looked at human society, wake up, eat, work, sleep, reproduce, die, and saw a straitjacket. To him, humans were pests who imposed an artificial, suffocating structure on the world. But spiders? Spiders were different. In the attic of the Creel house, Henry found a nest of black widows. He didn't just think they were cool, he worshipped them. He called them the most important of all predators because they brought balance to the ecosystem by immobilizing the weak and feeding on them. This is the core of his philosophy. He sees himself not as a murderer, but as a cleansing agent. He believes he is the spider destined to eat the weak humans to restore natural order. This specific ideology is why he eventually shapes the Mind Flayer into a giant spider. It's not just a scary monster, it's a religious idol dedicated to his own twisted worldview. The girl who almost saved him. Here is a detail the Netflix show conveniently skipped, but the Broadway production didn't, and it's arguably the most tragic part of his story. Henry had a girlfriend. Well, sort of. In high school, Henry bonded with Patty Newby, the adopted daughter of the school principal, and sister to Bob Newby. Yes, that Bob Newby, the superhero. Unlike his parents, who thought he was broken, or the doctors who wanted to sedate him, Patty saw him as simply misunderstood. She was the one person who kept him grounded. Patty actually convinced him that his powers weren't evil. They shared a comic book obsession, and in a key scene from the play, Henry creates a beautiful psychic vision for her where she can sing on stage, supported by everyone who usually mocked her. For a brief moment, Henry Creel was a hero. He was using his connection to the void to create joy, not pain. But tragically, Dr. Brenner, who was already stalking Henry because he recognized the signs of Dimension X exposure, meddled in their lives. Brenner threatened Patty, telling Henry that she was his weakness. The pressure of Brenner's pursuit and his parents' fear caused Henry to snap. In a heartbreaking confrontation in the school rafters, Henry tried to save Patty from Brenner, but lost control of the shadow entity inside him, accidentally throwing her off the catwalk. This incident broke him completely. It adds a tragic layer to the monster we know. He isn't just evil for the sake of evil. He's a guy who had his one lifeline to humanity severed by the very people claiming to cure him. The dinner from hell. Okay, back to the stuff you recognize. Henry realizes his mother, Virginia, has been conspiring with Brenner to lock him away. She knows something is wrong with him because she can sense the darkness he brought back from Nevada. Henry decides to host the worst family dinner in history. He murders his mother first. It's a brutal, calculated act, snapping her bones and imploding her eyes while his father watches in horror. Then he takes out his sister, Alice. But here is a detail people miss. Henry didn't just want to kill them. He wanted to punish his father. He blames Victor for being weak, for adhering to the straitjacket of society. He tries to kill Victor, but Henry overexerts himself. He hasn't mastered his powers yet, and the psychic toll of 2 murders causes him to pass out face first into his soup. Victor survives because the radio was playing, which becomes a huge plot point later. Music disrupts the psychic connection. Victor gets framed for the murders and tossed into Penhurst Mental Hospital, leaving Henry free to be adopted by the very man he was trying to avoid, Dr. Martin Brenner. Prisoner 001 and the Grooming of 11. Henry wakes up in Hawkins' lab, but he isn't treated like a son. He's 001, a lab rat. Brenner studies him, realizing that Henry is the key to unlocking the potential of the human mind. But Henry is too powerful and too unstable. After Henry kills a few orderlies, Brenner creates a device called Soteria, a miniature inhibitor chip, and implants it in Henry's neck. This effectively neuters him. Henry becomes an orderly, a glorified janitor, forced to watch Brenner try to replicate his powers in other kids. This is Project Indigo. Brenner uses Henry's blood and DNA to try and create more controllable versions of him. This means 002 through 010 are essentially Henry's siblings, or even his children, in a genetic sense. And then there is 11. Henry sees himself in her, powerful, lonely, and bullied by the other numbers. But let's be real, he wasn't being a nice big brother. He was grooming her. He manipulated her isolation, showing her that Brenner, or Papa, lied to her, just so she would trust him. He taught her to channel her anger to boost her powers, playing the long game to get her to remove his inhibitor chip. And because Elle is a trusting kid desperate for a friend, she does it. Bad move, kid. Once the chip is out, Henry goes full slasher villain. He massacres almost every kid and guard in the facility, leaving a trail of broken bodies. When Elle confronts him in the Rainbow Room, he gives her the "join me and we can rule the galaxy" pitch. She refuses. They have a Dragon Ball Z-style psychic duel, and Elle taps into a memory of love ironically, the opposite of Henry's advice to overpower him. She blasts him through a rift, sending him where? You are not in the Upside Down. Yet. This is the biggest misconception in the fandom. When Elle banishes Henry in 1979, she does not send him to the Upside Down. The Upside Down, that dark echo of Hawkins with the spores and vines, didn't exist yet. She sends him to the Hellscape, a bridge between worlds. It's a violent, chaotic tunnel of interdimensional gravity. Here, Henry is struck by lightning repeatedly, burning his skin off and deforming him into the Freddy Krueger-looking lich we all love to hate. He falls through this tunnel and lands in Dimension X. We need to clarify the difference because it's vital for Season 5. Dimension X is a natural alien world. It has a yellow sky, floating asteroids, and weird, non-Earth gravity. It was already inhabited before Henry arrived. The Demogorgons, they are just wildlife there. The vines, native flora. However, there was a dominant species there, the Mind Flayer particles. When Henry arrived, these particles were a formless, swirling cloud, pure potential energy without a shape. Henry, remembering his childhood obsession, used his powers to seize control of this cloud. He shaped it into a giant spider, imposing his will upon the chaos. This is the moment Henry Creel truly dies, and Vecna is born. He isn't the Mind Flayer's servant, he's its architect. He enslaved the hive mind, turning the neutral wildlife of Dimension X into his personal army. The long-distance relationship. So, if Vecna was the mastermind the entire time, what was he doing during the first 3 seasons? He wasn't just sitting around twiddling his thumbs, he was playing a long-distance game of 4D chess from Dimension X. In the beginning, he used the Demogorgon as a scout, and it was actually 11 making contact with that scout in the void that birthed the Upside Down, as we know it, a frozen snapshot of 1983. When that plan failed, he switched tactics, using the Mind Flayer form to possess Will Byers and attempt a hive mind takeover. And when Elle slammed the door on that, he got creative and disgusting, building that fleshy meat flayer in Season 3. But here's the kicker. That meat monster wasn't just about killing kids. Its primary goal was to take a bite out of 11, literally siphoning her power so Vecna could finally stop relying on proxies and start opening his own gates. It was never random. It was a calculated 3-step extraction plan. The Curse of Hawkins. Armed with the power he stole from Elle, Vecna started his own gate-opening business last season. But he can't just rip a hole in the world with brute force. He needs a psychic amplifier. He needs fear. His plan is gruesome but brilliant. He establishes a psychic connection with teenagers who are drowning in trauma. He targets Chrissy's eating disorder and abusive mom, Fred's survivor's guilt, and Patrick's abusive home. He doesn't just kill them. He torments them for days, feeding on their shame and fear to build up a charge. When he finally kills them, he doesn't just snap their necks, he implodes their minds. This psychic explosion is so powerful it rips a small gate in the fabric of reality at the exact spot of their death. He needs 4 kills to create 4 gates. These 4 gates will act like cracks in a dam, eventually converging in downtown Hawkins to shatter the barrier between worlds completely. Max Mayfield was the perfect target. She was consumed by guilt over her brother Billy's death, which Vecna orchestrated, by the way. He invades her mind, trapping her in his Mind Flayer, a fragmented version of the Creel house floating in the red smoke of his mind. But the kids figure out the cheat code: music. Music stimulates the hippocampus and acts as a lifeline to reality. When they blast Kate Bush, it opens a window in Vecna's curse, allowing Max to escape. This was the first time Vecna looked genuinely afraid. He realized his victims weren't helpless if they had a tether to the real world. So, here we are. Vecna is hurt, burned again, but he technically won. He killed Max for a full minute, which was enough to open the 4th gate. The Mega Rift tore through Hawkins, merging the Upside Down with the real world. Vecna is a tragic mirror of 11. He is a cautionary tale of what happens when you treat a sensitive child like a monster, until they decide to become one. He has the hive mind, he has the monsters, and he has a vendetta against the world that rejected him. But he forgot one thing. He taught 11 that she couldn't win without anger. We'll see if he was right or wrong soon. What do you think? Is Vecna the ultimate puppet master, or is the Mind Flayer secretly playing him like a fiddle? And will we see Patty Newby return to confront her old flame? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Popcorn Central for more deep dives just like this.